One of the high points of any graduation ceremony is the commencement address. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce to you today's commencement speaker, Dr. Ian Coulter. Dr. Coulter was born in New Zealand and earned a master's and bachelor's degree in sociology from the University of Canterbury and earned his PhD at the London School of Economics and Political Science. Additionally, he has earned a diploma in educational management from Harvard University. He is a senior health policy researcher at the RAND Corporation, a professor at the School of Dentistry at UCLA in the Division of Public Health and Community Dentistry, a professor at Pardee Rand Graduate School, and a research professor at the Southern California University of Health Sciences. He is also past president of Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College. Dr. Coulter has more than 40 years of experience conducting both qualitative and quantitative research on complementary and alternative medicine and integrative medicine. He also holds grants from the Department of Defense to conduct comparative effectiveness trials of chiropractic in military facilities and evaluation of the creation, implementation, and evaluation of health policies and health affairs. His current NIH grant includes a Center of Excellence grant to study the appropriateness of care in complementary and alternative medicines. As his career reveals, Dr. Coulter is a scholar and prolific author who has published over 150 articles and books. Dr. Coulter has received numerous awards for his service to the healthcare professions, including a Lifetime Achievement Award from National Chiropractic Mutual Insurance Company, the Presidential Citation Award from National College of Chiropractic, and in 2012 was named an Erskine Fellow at the Health Science Center at the University of Canterbury in New Zealand. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Ian Coulter.
Good morning. When I address people, they always wonder why I've spent 4 years of my career around chiropractors. So I thought I'd share with you how that happened. It was actually an accident. I came to the medical school at the University of Toronto to conduct the first large study ever done on chiropractors, and like chiropractors themselves, I went through a conversion experience. At the end of that study, I came to the conclusion, as my colleagues did, that here was a group that was giving very valued health care, that was adored by patients, who built their own college, who had paid their own way for their own education, and in return were being discriminated against and excluded. And I thought, that doesn't seem right to me. And so, like many people who get involved with this profession, I'm a convert. And interestingly enough, during the time that I've been a convert, during the 40 years, I've actually had quite a lot to do with your college. I've actually personally known 5 of your presidents, 4 of which are here now, and the late, great Dr. Napolitano was a friend of mine. So I've had the opportunity to see this college, to see it grow, to move to this new campus when they did move, and I have to say, I've been a long-time admirer of this college for what they achieved. The other thing that may puzzle you is why people get chosen to be a convocation speaker. It always puzzles me because I get invited. And I often think, why do they invite me? And so the last time I was invited, I rang up the institution and I said, what's my role as a convocation speaker? And they said, well, Ian, you're going to be the keynote speaker. The other speakers will all be entertaining. And so don't expect me to be entertaining. And then one other time when I was walking in to give the speech, one of the faculty members said to me, Ian, you sit beside me during the service and we can speak during the boring speaker. And I said, Pat, I am the boring speaker. And the last thing I want to share with you is when the last chancellor of UCLA, where I'm a full professor, was inaugurated, I was in the line and I was way at the back. It's a very big faculty at the University of UCLA. And a gentleman came and took me by my hand. He said, come, we want you to come to the front. And I thought, oh, wow, they must have the distinguished professors at the front. And unfortunately, I made this mistake of asking him why I was being moved to the front. And he said, listen, we're going to film this, and we're moving everybody with a very colourful gown to the front. So I'm beginning to suspect that I get invited because I've got the gown. That's not a bad thing, as I'll point out in a moment. But I have to say that I've discovered there's 3 rules for being a speaker. The first, they like you either to be cheap or free. They want you to be available, and they want you to be funny. And I have to tell you that I only tick 2 of those boxes. You'll figure out which 2 they are by the end of the ceremony, but I ticked 2 of them. And Dr. Mistag said that 2 out of 3 was good enough for him, so I'm here. But my granddaughter, who's 8 years old, Chloe, I was putting this gown on the other day and showing it to her, and she said, Poppy, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to go to a ceremony. She said, well, are you going to see Harry Potter? And that's good enough for me. So I think you get invited for a lot of reasons, and I suspect that's one of the reasons I get invited, but I think Harry Potter is the best one. But here's the guidelines they give you as a speaker. First, you're told to be brief, and I was told to be brief. Don't copy the last keynote speaker. I have no idea who the last keynote speaker was, so I'm safe there. Don't be controversial. I can manage that, I think. Give a vision of the promised land and be enthusiastic and optimistic. And if you can't be the last one, at least fake it. So I can at least be brief. And in the words of Yogi Berra, I promise to be brief for as long as possible. But convocation is actually a serious occasion, and although the family are here to celebrate, and we understand and we respect your great contribution to what the graduates have achieved, when it comes to my speech, it really is for the graduates. For the you, it's, of course, and for your families and friends and partners as well, it does mean no more tuition fees, it means no more exams, no more hitting the books. For your families, your friends, your partners, and so on, it often means getting you back to have a real life and to share it together. But when we have things important in society, we surround it with ritual and ceremony. And you can think of baptisms and births and bar mitzvahs, marriages and funerals. When we have something very important happening in society, we have some kind of ceremony about it. And this is one such occasion. So during the celebration today, it is important that we acknowledge how important this occasion is as well. And unfortunately, it falls to me to do that. Even though it was funny, I'm not given the role to be funny. So something here is very important happening here today, and what I want to do is just to touch on it briefly. And in the words of a Southern Baptist preacher, first I tells them what I'm going to tell them, then I tells them it, and then I tell them what I told them. And so that's kind of what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do in my speech today is I'm going to talk about what is actually going to happen when you walk across the stage. What are the great changes that are going to occur to you in a very few minutes once you get that degree? And then secondly, I'm going to talk very briefly about the kind of world that you're going to join. What does a healthcare field look like for you? How is it different for generations? And what might be the challenges for you in this new world? And I should touch on the fact that you can figure out for yourself that having these fancy clothes signals how important this occasion is. You don't get to wear this very often, which is why we wear it every time we get a chance, because how often can you parade like this? But I should tell you that people will give you different explanations of what this gown is about. And you'll notice there is a hood at the back. And it was always thought that what happened historically is that the professors would put their diplomas in that hood so you could prove that they were qualified. Well, last week I heard a much better story, and that was that professors actually got paid directly by their students. And the reason they put it in the hood is so the professor wouldn't know how much they paid them. And I will tell you, I think they used to do that for speakers as well. So just let you know, I've got a hood, right? What are the changes that are going to occur to you as you go across the stage? Well, the first one is you're not going to be students anymore, you're going to be alumni. And that's a change that's going to change you forever. And we'd like you to think about that just a little bit. because it's really like being married. And someone once said that marriage will teach you forbearance and sensitivity, sympathy and understanding, empathy, and 1,000 other qualities you would never need if you never got married to begin with. And in actual fact, that's what's true for alumni, because this is a marriage that has no divorce. Once you graduate from this institution, you actually will always belong to this institution. If you bring honor to yourself, you bring it to the college. If you bring shame to yourself, you also bring it to the college. So this is a lifetime lasting relationship where you pass from being a student to actually being one of theirs. And from there on, you actually belong to them in a sense. There's an old saying that the difference between students and faculty and alumni is that students ask why, faculty ask how, and alumni ask how much. Because you can bet the college is going to ask you for money. So that's one of the things that's going to change. Not that they haven't been asking you already, but that isn't going to stop either. They're going to continue to do that. But secondly, a more important change is going to occur is that you've all been classmates. Some of you have been partners, some of you have been spouses, some of you have been friends, you've been competitors. You're about to become colleagues. And it's kind of strange that often students are never told what a colleague actually is. And so what I'd like to do is to remind you that a colleague has a very peculiar quality about it. And that is, everybody in this class is entitled to your respect, not because they earn it. And this is quite different. In all kinds of relationships, you have to earn respect. Even in a marriage, or in a partnership, you have to earn respect. As a teacher, I have to earn respect. Colleagues don't. They're actually given it automatically. The fact that the person you're interacting with is a chiropractor or Oriental medicine or masters in nutrition automatically makes you members of the same profession. And we don't take that respect away except in very exceptional circumstances. But until those exceptional circumstances actually happen, each one of you has the right to that respect, and it should be given willingly. And think about it for a moment. If you don't respect your colleagues, if you don't respect each other, you have no right to expect anyone else to respect your profession. If you want respect from the public, it has to start with each other. And so once you cross the stage, once you become a colleague, you will have been changed forever. You're now entitled to the respect of others. You've got to respect their abilities. You have to respect their ethics. You have to respect their professionalism. And only take it away in very exceptional circumstances. And Joe Jancy, who was a long-time president of National College, who passed away many years ago, used to say this poem, which I've always liked. Here's to those of my own breed, good or bitter bad as they might be, for they hear the things I hear, and they see the things I see. And that's what your colleagues do. They hear the things you hear, they see the things you see, and they share the same professional knowledge that you do. So let me change and talk a little bit about the world you're going to join, because you're going to join a very exciting world, and you're the first generation amongst chiropractors and even Oriental medicine and the others as well who will join this world. You're the first generation who's going to enter a world in what's becoming what's called integrative medicine. And some of you will practice in institutions where for a long time you would have been totally and utterly excluded. Many of the older gentlemen sitting on the stage here, particularly the older presidents, will tell you that 15 years ago, chiropractors were not allowed in the VA. And in fact, I critiqued a study that was done to help keep them out. Now they're throughout the VA and they're throughout the military. As you heard, a lot of my research is now on the military, chiropractors in the military. Acupuncture and Oriental medicine is now being included. You see naturopaths now in hospital. So you're going to enter a whole range of institutions where you weren't there before. And so you're going to get opportunities that are quite new. You'll now see massage therapy, you'll see acupuncture, you'll see traditional Chinese medicine, Oriental medicine, all these things, Ayurvedic medicine, are now starting to be included in places like the military and also in places like hospital. And that's quite different, that's quite new. For clinical nutritionists, your world is going to change too. Instead of seeing nutrition as something that's meant only for patients who have serious nutritional problems, you're going to see nutrition as an integral part of all healthcare. So you're going to be in a much more expanded role as well. For those graduating in diagnostic imaging, the settings you practice in may not change so much, but the world you're about to join and who you do the imaging for will change quite drastically. There was a time when chiropractors could only get images done by chiropractors, and chiropractors certainly would not have been doing imaging for other professions. That's going to change for you. You're going to be radically different in who you're interacting with. So there has been a huge paradigm shift, and in my experience as a sociologist, I can tell you that actually is a revolution. Think about it. You now see medical doctors and chiropractors in partnerships that are quite unique and different, and they're building new kinds of delivery systems. And that's happened during the time that I've been involved in chiropractic. At the beginning, that would never have happened. Now you see it will exist throughout the system itself. So there's also been a paradigm shift in the public's acceptance. As you know, that the public has moved more and more towards CAM, which is complementary and alternative medicine, and much more towards what you're doing. But most of the public would rather have it integrated. They would prefer to have the medical doctor and their chiropractor actually talking to each other and interacting. They would prefer to have the Oriental medicine integrated with mainstream medicine as well. So this is the world that you're going to join. It's called integrative healthcare, and it's going to be a very exciting world. But let's just stop for a moment and think, what actually are they talking about? First of all, you need to ask the question, are they all talking about the same thing? And then secondly, you want to know what exactly is being integrated. What's this world that I'm going to join? What does it involve? What am I going to get to do in this new world? Third one, as a researcher, what I want to know is it effective? Is integrative healthcare better for the public? Do people get better because of it? Do their illnesses respond better? And secondly, and the one that I want to pose to you, is the question, should you participate in this new world or not? Well, the definition of integrative medicine means simply some kind of relationship between allopathic medicine and, let's say, chiropractic or Oriental medicine, to another definition that says it involves shared management of the patient, shared patient care, shared practice guidelines, and shared common values and goals. And I'd like to suggest to you it's the last one that you should be ensuring happens. Because if you don't do that, then here's what may happen. You can form new relationships which are dominating, in which you in fact see your modalities adopted, so it could be manipulation, it could be needling. They'll adopt the modalities and they'll use you to do them, but they won't adopt your paradigm, they won't adopt your profession. The second one is you could become adjunctive therapy. And adjunctive therapy is when you're used in addition to medicine. So acupuncture, for example, has been shown experimentally to be very good for cancer patients doing chemotherapy to control nausea and pain. Now that's a very valuable service to provide. So I'm not suggesting that adjunctive therapy isn't good. Unfortunately, it's just adjunctive. There's not shared management, there's not shared decision-making of that. You're just being used in addition. And then the last one is an integration that really involves a transformation, and that would do what I said to you before, where there is shared management, there's shared patient care, there's shared decision-making, and there's shared common values and goals. And what I want to suggest to you is that's the world that you should join. And then how do you make sure you do that? And if you think of the crisis we have in this country at the moment from addiction and death for opioid prescription drugs, there's never been a better time to make sure that would change how we think about treating people for pain. And of course, you have some of them. So here's what you need to understand, and here's what I'm going to appeal to you to do. You actually have a paradigm that has a quite distinct philosophical basis, and it's different from allopathic medicine. It doesn't mean it's better or it's worse, it just means it's different. And I would like to suggest to you increasingly necessary in the healthcare system. We need to rethink how we think about treatment and health. We desperately need to rethink how we do that. So the first thing you need to know, what is it that all the CAM professions share? What are these philosophical principles that we think you've taken out of here? The first one is all the CAM group are vitalistic. They all believe that the body can heal itself. Every one of you hopefully has graduated with that belief. Every one of you hopefully has experienced that. You've seen it happen. The only thing the CAM community shares, the only thing they share, is that they're all vitalistic. There's nothing else they share in common, but they all share that. Whether it's chi, whether it's innate, whether it's dosha, every single one of them postulates a principle by which the body heals itself. The second thing you share is holism, that you believe that health is part of mind, body, and spirit. The third is what we call naturalism. This is the one that's hugely important at the moment, given the opioid crisis. It's not that we don't think drugs are important or shouldn't be used, but we do have a predilection, a preference to use natural therapies, hands only or needling or herbs or whatever, at least to consider them as a first option, maybe the first option, but at least look to nature to try and find some of the cures. The fourth thing we have is what's called humanism. We have a very peculiar attitude about how we relate to patients, and it's a thing that's made us very successful for well over 100 years. We actually think the patient has immutable rights, a right to dignity, a right to choose their health care, a right to choose alternative health care, and a right to make decisions about their body. We don't believe in a dominant relationship between the provider and the patient. We actually firmly believe in a cooperative relationship, and we actually subscribe to that. And the last one I'd like to mention is conservatism. If the body can largely heal itself, the best care is the least care. You shouldn't be over-treating people. You should be helping the body, but at that point, you should let the body get on with it. Why am I telling you all this nonsense? Because it makes a huge difference to how you practice, and it will make a huge difference to how you practice integrative medicine. Because I want to appeal to you to say that for 1,000 years in Oriental medicine, and in Ayurvedic medicine, and for over 100 years in chiropractic, people have come to you because of those principles. That's why they chose you. It's why chiropractic survived. It's why the public has chosen to use your delivery system. So if you understand what I'm saying, it does create a different kind of healer. And here's the kind of healer we hope you'll be. And this is the kind of healer that we hope you'll be in integrative medicine. The first is the belief that health is the natural state, that the body will try and keep itself healthy as much as it can if it's given the opportunity, and we use the thing vis medico dex naturae to capture that. So that's the first part that makes us different as health providers. The second is that health is an expression of the mind, body, and spirit, and all three things should be considered. The third one is that health is unique for each person. The fourth is that we believe that health is not just the absence of disease. The seventh one or sixth one we have is that treatment's not the same thing as care. You can treat somebody with a modality, that's not caring for somebody. That's treatment. Caring means much more than that. We think you should treat the whole person. And the last one is probably the most important of all, that you are a facilitator. Your role as a healer is to facilitate. If you believe the body can heal itself, your job, your primary role, is to allow it to do that, to facilitate that. We don't say we cure people. You shouldn't ever say that, because we don't. You may treat them and you may care for them and you may facilitate them. They actually heal themselves. The founder of osteopathy, Andrew Still, used to say, I can no more give you health than I can give you honesty. I can show you what honesty is. I can show you examples of it. I can tell you what it is. I can't give it to you. Same thing's true as for health. I can't give you health. Only you can do that. I can help you get there. So here's the challenge for you, and this is why I'm making the point. In the rush to become part of integrative medicine, which you all have the opportunity to do, don't lose the soul of your profession. If those differences that attracted the patients for 1,000 years are to be preserved and to continue, you're the ones that have to do it. So while you'll get the opportunity to be in the VA and in the military and in hospitals, make sure that what you take with you is the basis of this paradigm that you've been introduced to. Don't allow yourself just to become a modality. If you become a modality, you will be popular, you will be used, but believe me, you will not be practicing your profession. So I would like to suggest to you that you don't mistake the trimmings or privileges of a profession with the heart of your profession. It's much more than that. It's great that you can get a degree. It's great that you can now practice in hospitals. You are the first generation of your profession to do that. You are the first generation to have that privilege. It's great that you can now hold chairs in university. I have an endowed chair at Rand Corporation. Nobody has said to me you couldn't come here because you do chiropractic or you're a chiropractic person. That's the first time that's ever happened. You're the first generation that can work in research institutions with the best researchers in the country. And there's DCs with PhDs all over this country doing that now in prestigious universities. That's wonderful. You're the first generation to do that. But none of those, I would suggest to you, none of those privileges are actually going to replace the love and joy that your patients will get from your wonderful practice. What lies behind you and what lies before you are but tiny matters compared to what lies within you. So, celebrate your achievement today. Know that you're about to join a great profession. You're going to join a healthcare system that's in trauma in a way. We have some unbelievably serious challenges to face. 40-something thousand people died last year from opioid overdoses. That's actually outrageous. We are natural drugless therapy for the most part. You think we might offer a solution there. And I leave you with the thought that God will not love thee less because your patients love thee more. So in closing, I'd just like to go back to about the convocation speeches and say that I again made the mistake of asking a very good friend of mine who's a professional speech maker what he thought of my speech, and he said, it was a wonderful speech, Ian, but you missed two great opportunities to sit down. So I'm going to sit down. Thank you and best of luck.